Hello, brilliant and precious jewelry community. Welcome to this video. My name is Damien Rohrbach. If you get lost somehow, go to the website ATELIER.design. So today I'm going to show one of my assets, which is actually the favorite asset. And a couple of days ago, a subscriber made some interesting questions about that assets. So we're talking about the Gemstones asset. So I'm going to go and open the file. Okay, so when we open the file, we have this. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 different shapes and different cuts. On the downside, by example, the princess, which is very typical, the cut on the pavilion. So we have this, and every gemstone has a camera, a top view camera. So here you can choose, actually every camera has the name for each stone. That's if you want the render. And we'll also have the general side view camera. This is the side view. If you want directly go and move that camera to a specific stone. And we have the general top view, which is this one. So the question wasn't really about that, but I'm showing the general setup of the scene. Many people are buying the scene for the cuts, for the gemstones, and not just that. But the scene comes with a classical light blue background and a standard diamond material for cycles, already set up with the bounces, so it looks good. And also the scene comes with an HDR environment to get nice contrasted diamonds. So it's already set up to look good in this scene. But now let's say I want to use the stone in another scene, because obviously it's to design your own jewels. So you will have sooner or later to use this mesh somewhere else. So the question was if it's better to use the STL export or the OBG export, or to append the mesh into the other scene. So let's see the differences. Actually, I am going to use the princess as an example. So let's go to file, well, select. I have the princess selected there. Hello, princess. All right. And let's go to file export, and let's export in STL mode. Well, mode file format. And I'm going to put it somewhere here, and let's call this princess cut STL. Don't forget to put, yeah, sorry. Let me bring the window here. So that's the name of the file there. You put whatever you want, and don't forget to put selection only, so you don't export the entire scene, and just export STL. Okay, I'm going to do the same, but exporting as OBG Object, which actually is my favorite. So let me go to the same here. Okay, so that's my, so selection only, and let's call that princess cut OBG. Obviously the system is going to add the extension by on its own, but I always, well, not always, but most of the time I put in the name, I put the file format, because it's easier to find when you're browsing files, when you have a lot of files. Okay, so, and don't forget selection only. So the difference well, the first main difference between STL and object files is that exporting with the object file, you can export the material, and that's pretty good. So generally it's going to be like that. So export object. So now I'm going to create a new scene, new general. So that's my new scene, basic. The default cube is gone, you know. That's basically the two main people who keep the default cube and people who don't. But never forget to show love to the default cube. That's a lot of history of Blender. Anyway, so I'm going to bring in, so now let's go to File, Import, and STL. I'm going to go to my directory. So this is my princess cut here, import STL, and here we are. What we are going to observe when we export to STL is that the faces of the mesh, they're going to change. Well, STL is more for 3D printing than for sharing or compatibility. And what changes, and you need to know that, is if you look here, the cut on the pavilion part, there's a line here, there, that is not in the original model, because obviously my models follow the real face cuts of the gemstones. That's why also it's one of the favorite assets, because the gemstones are with the real proportion and cuts in shapes, okay? But if you use the STL export, you're going to get that. So what happens? Well, basically, my models use quad, which means 4 vertices faces. But exporting to STL, you're going to get tris, which is 3 vertices faces. So let's go here and we can see that the subdivision is different. But that is generally not a problem for rendering. So with the STL, that mesh has no material here. But it's really easy to create a material for diamonds. So let's go at metallic 0, specular 1, roughness 0, IOR 2418, transmission 1. Let's go to preview. So we have this. So I do use STL a lot to import my gemstones when I design in Blender or during tutorials also. And I don't mind that the face cuts change, because that makes more refractions in the renderers. So it tends to make the refraction look even better, because we have more cuts between faces, even if it not so real anymore. But most of the time won't be an issue, but you need to know that beforehand, that we're gonna have. So if something bother you, you can go to edit mode, Alt A, Alt Z, and you know what? I do have screencast. Where is screencast? Because I did install. Let's bring in preference. Let's go to add-ons. Add-ons, please. Screencast key. Here we go. Well, anyway, I speak out the keys I use, but let's put a nice light green and let's activate the screencast. And here we are. So B to select all these. And maybe you want to expand that a bit so the cut doesn't show that much or shows more or less, okay? So you can retract that level where the new cut shows and adapt to what you need. So that cut shows more or less depending on the angle you're gonna get. Okay, so that's for STL. So let's hide this for a while. Let me just save this gemstones examples. Here we go. All right, now let's import object. So as I stated earlier, or said earlier, the object format comes with the MTL material file. So I just need to import actually the object. That's what you need to import. So let's go and import object, and that's the princess cut. First main difference is that the object file format doesn't change the faces. That's why I prefer the object file also between softwares, because if you're going to make the render in using another software or design something else, I prefer the object format because it won't change the cuts of the faces, and that's very important for these models because the gemstones, again, this asset has real faces for the gemstones. So if we want, and generally we do want that kind of realism, we want the original faces, so that's important. And also let's go to material, and this one already comes with the material, which is let's call it the normal diamond material that works for cycles. And the object file format also shares the material setup. So obviously if the software is compatible, it's going to use that file and already have the correct node set up. And also don't ask too much if the software is not compatible with that file format, with that material format. It won't just work. But as I already showed earlier, it's really easy to set up the material anyway in cycles. Okay, so that's very important, and that's why I brought these ones. Let's call this one object, and let's move on so we can compare, and we can very easily see the difference. This one has some cuts, especially at the tip, that we don't have in the asset, in the original asset file. Okay, but then the material is the same because I made the setup, and actually I know it didn't bring, say that didn't even bring that one. I know it is just transmission I want, please. Okay, so if we compare, yeah, we can see that the refractions are different. So on the left is the original face cuts, and on the right is the STL. But generally STL is favored for 3D printing because it's a lighter format, generally makes lighter files and all that. So if you're going to export, I would say use the object file format. It's the one I prefer most of the time, but also most of the time I don't really bother. If it's only for rendering, it's okay, but know that the faces are going to change in the STL. Now there's another option. We can append. So let's go to append. Wait, we can link, but I use append, I don't use link. So that's well, actually I need to go to the original file, so Blender Market Gemstone Collection. Then you need to go to objects, and here we're going to have all the object in the scene. And that's why it's really important that the asset scene has all the names already with the object, because that way it's really easy to find what shape you want. Let's bring a pear shape. Well, no, let's bring the princess cut because I was. So now this princess cut here is the appended one. It already comes with the material. Actually made a copy. This is the new one because it's bringing the same material with the same name. So this is already the copy and comes with the setup. already into place. So obviously it should be the same as the object file, but still there are slight differences. If we can see the left one, this one is the object, this one is the, yeah, we can see slight differences. So even the object export changes somehow the faces. Maybe it duplicates them. Yeah, sometimes it does. You can merge that anyway. So appending is one of the best ways, and actually when you want the cleanest file, use append. Okay, and it's all inside Blender, and you're going to append with already the materials. So you can create another scene, make the materials you use the most, and then append your gemstone, your rings, shanks, designs, and all into a new scene, and it's going to be exactly the same geometry as the original. So know that exporting, even in object file, is going to change slightly the geometry. STL changes it more. But when you append, the file is, well, it's appended, but it's taken from the original and it's somehow linked. To make it single and from this file, because sometimes when you do some things, the software is going to tell you that you can't because it's appended. And that's why I'm already answering that question. You just go to Object, Relations, and make local. Well, and that depends. Generally, I make local or make single users. That would be object data and materials, or all. And then it's not linked anymore. It's part of this file, and you won't have that kind of problem anymore. If that problem persists, then you go to Relations, make single user, and well, then you can choose only the geometry, data, or materials. But because generally we do have all levels involved, you're going to make single user object, data, and materials. Okay, and that's from the selected object. So select the object and go to Relation, make single user, object, data, and materials. And generally that solves all the figures of problems you can have when you appended a file from another file. Okay, so now this geometry and material is totally part of this scene, and well, generally that's the way you want it. So there's no interference from the original scene to the appended file. All right, and well. Okay, and also, well, general information of the channel, as always. But this, so we can go to Blender Market. So also where to find my assets. Put gemstones there, and we're gonna have, this is the file here, and you can buy it on the Blender Market. The nice thing when you buy on the Blender Market is that you are, well, with my files, when you see a little heart next to a file like these, like this one, it means that we are donating a part of the shares to the Blender Development Fund. And that's a cool way to support my channel, support my work as a designer, well, to support my channel, to keep me motivating and create more tutorials and explanation and answers, and also participating in helping the Blender development, which is nice because Blender is growing in quality and keeps growing. So that's a nice way to do that. Okay, so that's for the gemstones collection, and also something important that some of you might not know, but you can go to my channel. And here, let's go here, and let's go to members, or just subscribe here. Well, I don't know in English, because in Spanish is really like unite. You can unite my channel. well, just become member. So the first level, the Rostone level jeweler level, is actually receiving 30 to 40% on my assets. But then it won't be on the Blender market. You can buy the assets directly using PayPal from one of my websites, and that's where you get the 30 to 40% on the assets. And well, basically for now, because I do have other assets, but I won't show them in this video, obviously. And but I will talk about the other assets because the jewelry boxes is really amazing, and also the ring systems is really amazing. Then the rings here, this is more intended for people who want to try to print some models. So this asset has 6 rings with the material, but we don't care because it's more for 3D printing than render, and also learn rendering if you want. So yes, we do care because the materials are part of the asset and all that. But that's for another video. So, brilliant and precious jewelry community, my name is Damien Rohrbach, and thanks for subscribing, and thanks for joining as members, and take care. See you soon. Have a nice day. Bye bye.